What's going on, guys? I'm RSBuilt, and welcome back to another episode of Just Another Let's Play. In this episode today, I wanted to do a little bit of modification to the witch farm that we made in the last episode to kind of fix an issue that we ran into. Between episodes here, I was able to redesign the witch farm and get it to work the way that I wanted it to work and put out some additional potions as well. So I want to take care of that, and then I also want to get started on a couple more farms. So let's jump into it. I have been doing a lot of mining off camera and gathering some materials. I have been putting some cobblestone aside for a general mob farm that I plan on making. And then also I have been collecting some gravel, some sand to make some concrete for another project that I'm planning in the future as well. So let's head on over here to the witch farm and do this modification that I've been talking about. So we're over here at the witch farm, and as you can see, this witch farm has been putting out a ton of potions, just exactly what we wanted. We have tons of potion of swiftness, tons of the potion of healing, and also potion of the fire resistance, which is really going to come in handy. However, one thing that is missing here is the potion of water breathing, and that's one that I really wanted to get because it would be really handy, especially once we get started working on the ocean monument. After the last episode, I went into a redstone testing world, and I basically came up with a design that gave us all of these potions, plus the potion of the water breathing as well. So let's get started with doing a couple changes here. One thing that we do need to do, if you look inside here, we need to have the water at head level, which would be these blocks down here where the observers are. And in order to have the water at head level, we do need to make a few changes here. Basically what we need to do is we're going to have to move these observers, which is the redstone ring that powers the trident killer. So instead of these being on the top, we're just going to place these on the bottom. And then we need to add an additional block below the spawning block. That way we have the 3 inside of an L shape. And then we'll go ahead and add in all of our dispensers that dispense the water. I'm really not going to get into specifics on this. However, if you want more details as to how this works and how to build it in a tutorial, I uploaded a tutorial on my channel, so be sure to check out that tutorial. I'll link it in the top right if you're interested in seeing that. So I want to get started in tearing these out here. And I'm just going to remove these droppers, the observers, and then grab my axe and remove some of this wood as well. I'm not going to be taking out any of these pistons because they are fine where they're at. Alright, now that I have those removed, now we're going to dig down a little bit and we're going to replace this same ring, but we're going to put it on the bottom instead of the top. And now that I have all of these cleared out, I'm going to go ahead and grab my redstone components and get ready to place these in. Alright, now that all of that is in place, we are going to go ahead and grab our switch and place it down on a block next to one of these droppers. That way we can power a dropper to get this thing started. So if we turn it on, that should momentarily start, and then once we turn it off, that should allow the redstone signal to go around. And as you can see, it works just as it did before. The only difference is now the redstone is on the bottom instead of the top. So let's go ahead and start adding in our water dispensers to dispense the water inside of the chamber. And then we also want to bring this down one. This is going to act kind of as an agitator to keep things from going around in a total circle. Once it spins it around, it's only going to push up against this block and then it's going to stop right there. So at this point we know that the witches are going to be down here and the head level is going to be at these blocks here. So this is exactly where we want to put our dispensers at with our water buckets. So let's grab our dispensers and we're going to place a dispenser here, a dispenser next to that. We don't want to place one here because then you'll have 2 dispensers on the same corner block. We want to go ahead and place one here as well. So let's go ahead and place down a temporary block and then a dispenser there as well. And then we'll probably have to break one of these to get out. Just like so. I'm not going to put any water buckets in it yet for obvious reasons. However, we are going to build this up and around. We're going to place the blocks that we want this whole thing to be built out of. In this case, I'm going to use this wood. We're going to place some there, fill in these corners here, and just make it look a little bit better. These can be filled in all the way around. Again, you have to remember on Bedrock Edition, the pistons are transparent and light can go through them, so we want to make sure that we have all of these pistons completely covered. At this point, I think I'm going to go ahead and move this dispenser and place it on this side as well, just because it makes more sense as to how I'm constructing this, because I kind of want the redstone to go in this direction and not the other way. So let me go ahead and fill this in around here. And then I can go ahead and place down that wooden block back and then fill this in as well. Then I'm going to place a block here to put a repeater on facing that direction. And then I want a block here to put a repeater on facing that direction. We have this repeater powering these two, and then we have this repeater powering the other dispenser. The only thing left to do is for us to power these, and we want these to power very quickly 2 times in a row. That way it dispenses the water and then very quickly retracts the water again. That way it doesn't flood the inside, it's only dispensing the water for a brief moment. So the way that we want to do that is we want to go down here and we want to find where we can get a redstone signal from, which if you look at the back of that observer there, there's the block in the back where it puts the signal out of. If we place redstone next to that, then we should have a signal coming out of that block enough to power this redstone dust. So let's go ahead and turn this on, and you can see that redstone dust does get powered. So we'll turn this off, and then to make this observer double pulse, we're going to want a repeater in here. So place down a repeater facing this direction away, and then we're going to put this on 3 ticks delay, and then we can go ahead and remove that block temporarily. And then we want to crouch place an observer facing down watching that repeater. So if we turn it on now, this observer is going to detect this repeater turning on, and it's also going to detect the repeater turning off. So this is going to give us the double pulse that we need. And then the only thing that we have to do is place down either redstone dust or a solid block here so we can transfer that into these dispensers. And as you can see, our repeaters up top are now flashing. Now, since we have this double pulsing, we can go ahead and fill that back in. Let's grab some buckets and fill up 3 of them with water. And let's turn this off so we don't do this with it running. Water here, and water here. Now that we have the water inside of there, we can go ahead, grab our trident, and throw that back in there. And let's turn it on and see how it works. As you can see, the water very quickly gets dispensed and pulled in. And then you can also place down a lever here just in case I ever have to resync this watering system. That's there, and it will greatly help me with doing that. That way, if this ever gets flipped around and the water stays out, or if you have the water to where it's dispensed longer than it's not dispensed, then you can go ahead and use that to kind of resynchronize it. Again, the tutorial that I made goes really into depth with that, so if you're interested in building what I just built, check that out, and it is really an awesome farm and rates are really good. Now that we have done this, this should give us the potion of water breathing. Because the witches are falling into water that is over their heads, they will instantly pull out a potion of water breathing, and once they die, then they'll drop that and it will be pulled up by the hopper. The reason why we can't have the water dispensed all the time, if you haven't watched the last episode, is because the Trident Killer in water was nerfed and it does not work anymore. So this is a good way around that to get the potion of water breathing with the witch hut. So now I just want to go in here, double check that it's nice and dark in here, which it is. Plenty dark enough for witches to spawn. So let's go ahead and fill this up. I'll do a very quick AFK session, see if we get any potion of water breathing, and then we'll move on. And after a little bit of AFK time, let's jump down and see what we have. ahead and turn that off. And let's see, yep, we got 1 potion of water breathing there. Still have all of our other ones that are starting to accumulate. Let's check, see if we have any more. Got a potion of swiftness, fire resistance. Looks like it's just 1 for now. Might have to AFK a little bit longer to get one. However, one thing to note, look at all this stuff that is being dropped out of this witch farm. Got a stack of gunpowder there, a stack of sugar, a stack of glowstone dust, multiple stacks of sticks, spider eyes, redstone. There's just so much stuff that these farms drop, and it's incredible. And that's why I said that this is one of the best early game farms that you can make. Just tons and tons of good materials. This carrot, that's probably from a zombie getting in there, along with the rotten flesh spawning in there just because it's dark. But aside from that, you can see all of the different things that these witches drop upon dying. And of course it would be raining. Now all my books are getting wet out here. What the heck, man? I guess I should have built a little cover over it. This is just really a temporary setup. I ended up going into the nether whenever I was collecting gravel, and that was a bad idea. I ended up dying, and I actually lost a lot of my stuff. I still, one of these days, am going to have to go back and see if I can't find the stuff. As long as the chunk isn't loaded, hopefully it should be fine. However, this is just kind of a temporary setup. That way I could enchant a few things. They're not very high level enchantments, and they're not that great. However, it's a lot better than nothing. And that's all the bookshelves I have at the moment. So hopefully this will eventually be moved and a lot better setup will be made. Anyways, what I want to do now is head out here onto the ocean. I can see that my sugarcane still is not growing. I don't know why this stuff is taking forever. I thought that it grew a lot faster than that. However, I planned all this off camera. That way I can make some more books. We are going to have to do something probably next episode and make us a sugarcane farm because I really don't want to wait for this stuff to grow. It's just taking forever. So let's head out here onto the ocean and find a good spot. I kind of want to find a place that's away from land, not that it has to be. And I'm thinking right here where this gravel comes up will probably be the best spot. So let me just bring this up here. And let's make a quick little platform. And I'll go ahead and row my boat over here. And then we'll just bring this platform around, make a quick little makeshift platform before the drowns kill us. And basically what I want to do, I want to account for the area that we're going to have the trident killer. So I figure at least maybe 8 blocks for that. And then an additional 3 or 4 blocks for the catching funnel that's going to be underneath it, that all of the mobs are going to fall into. So I figure 12 blocks off of the surface here should be fine and give me enough room. So let me count up 12. And now, not counting the block that I'm standing on, I'm going to build this out by 8 on each side. Next, you want to go into the center here, and I have dug out a hole to mark the center. And what you want to do is you want to place a sticky piston inside of that hole facing up, and then you want to place a redstone block on top of it, then jump on top, and a temporary block. And then you want to repeat this process. So sticky piston, block of redstone, temporary block, sticky piston, block of redstone, temporary block, and so forth. Alright, and once you have done that, you should have a pillar that looks something like this. Then you can go ahead and remove these temporary blocks as you go. Don't remove any of the pistons or the redstone blocks, only the temporary blocks. And what you want to do is you want to build these out next to the piston in all four sides. And each one of these pistons are going to be your spawning layers. So we're going to build these out to match up with the bottom, which is going to be 8 out on each side. And then we're going to fill these in like we did the bottom layer here. We're going to basically repeat this bottom layer all the way up until we get to the very top. So let's jump into a time lapse and get it done. Sorry about the time lapse, guys. My OBS kept crashing and somehow I ended up with a slideshow instead of a video. However, if you noticed on the top here, I did not only put the solid blocks on the roof, I ended up putting the slabs on top of the solid blocks as well. These lower slabs are to keep mobs from spawning up here. It is not what used to give us the surface spawns on the bottom. I decided halfway through the time lapse that I wanted to raise it up. So you'll notice that this is a lot higher than it was. And also, I wanted to make this to where this one was only going to be for the cave spawns. The next one that I build is going to be for the surface spawns. That way we have one spawner for cave spawns and one spawner for surface spawns. And we'll see how that works out. So you can see here we have these pistons and the redstone blocks. If you notice, the piston is extended upwards, and that is to push this redstone block up. Now when this redstone block gets pushed up, it serves two functions. Whenever it's pushed up, it powers the piston that's directly below it. So each one of these are going to have a piston directly on top of this block here, and whenever this redstone block gets pushed up onto that piston, it's going to power the piston on top. And then that piston's going to push the redstone block up and power the piston that's above it, and so forth all the way up to the top. So these redstone blocks are what actually powers it, but this redstone block does actually have another purpose as well. If I go down here and hit this lever, and then come back up here, you will notice that there is a ton of water coming down here. The purpose of this redstone block is to block this water that's coming out of this piston. Now this farm design has been made possible now that we have the ability to waterlog pistons. So we basically have all of these pistons that are holding water inside. As soon as we drop that redstone block out from being able to hold the water in, that water is going to come down, hit this redstone block, and then spread out over this entire layer. And that's going to effectively push all of the mobs off. Now the reason why I designed this farm the way that I did, and I did not do the traditional observer method, is because I don't like the traditional observer method, because the observers on Bedrock Edition do not fire evenly. And every time that you fire the observers, they will unsynchronize, and you will have the floors that are flooding in different orders. And the reason why that is relevant is because in Bedrock Edition we have all of our spawns that occur in what we call pillar spawns. And the way that the spawning algorithm works is from the bottom to the top. It checks for spawning locations, and it will actually spawn mobs one over top of the next inside of a pillar, as seen inside of this picture here. So the reason why that is relevant is if we have a couple of these floors or every other floor that is flooded with water, then we're actually losing spawns. So if we can free up all of these at the same time, then we're able to take full advantage of that entire pillar spawn. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to go underneath here where this lever is that controls the water flow, and I want to build this kind of a little bit bigger where I have some room to work. That way I can make a control mechanism to control this thing and to make it operate the way that I intend for it to. And the way that I plan on doing that is going to be using a etho hopper timer. If we remove this lever here, then we'll probably see some more mobs fall. Yep, there goes spiders. And hopefully they'll stay down there swimming around and not come up here and bother me. Well, I had to come down to make another comparator, and apparently we have a spider party. I've never seen 2 spiders in a boat, but if you have never seen it, there it is. So now that we got our 2 comparators, let's head back up here. So once you have built a platform like this, the next thing that we want to do is get started on our etho hopper clock. We're going to extend this out by 1 more, and then we're going to just a couple slabs there. And then we're going to get started building our etho hopper clock right here. So what we need to do is we need to place down a temporary block in the middle. Grab our hoppers, place the hopper down, remove that temporary block, and face another hopper into there, or both of those are facing towards one another. And then we can bring this out by 1 more, and bring this around. Then what we want to do is take our comparators and place our comparators down, coming out of each one of these hoppers. Make sure that they are not in subtract mode. And then at this point we can grab our pistons, crouch place our pistons on top, facing towards the hoppers, just like so. Block of redstone. And then we're going to go into a block here, redstone dust, and redstone dust. That's going to take care of our hopper clock. Then we want to place a block down here so we can get redstone power going into here. Grab your repeater, place the repeater facing into this block here, and every time this redstone block goes over, it's going to power this repeater, powering this block, which is going to power our row of pistons. To get this thing started, we just have to chuck about a stack of items in here, and every time it cycles through that stack of items, it's going to flush all of this out and push all of these mobs out and down below. However, with the cycling back and forth, I don't want all of these mobs falling down every time it cycles because I'm going to be building the catching funnel underneath it. So what I want to do is remove all of these items for now. And that's going to leave this redstone block on this side where this is not getting powered, so we have our water dispensed and flooding the entire column. With this being flooded, no mobs are going to be able to spawn on here. It's going to keep things from raining down on my head. With that being said, let's jump into one last time lapse and get this funnel built. Well guys, you can see that the farm is for the most part about done. I did add a little bit more to the roof, that way during daytime all of our spawning platforms are completely covered in darkness. And you can see the mob farm is starting to work now, however there is not the trident killer or the storage system on the bottom. So all of these mobs are being funneled in, and since the drop down there is further than 45 blocks from my AFK position where I'm at now, they're going to pretty much instantly despawn as they fall, making a continuous cycle. However, I am going to be adding a trident killer down there, along with a storage system, and probably an ice stream coming this direction to shuttle all the experience up to give me experience up at this location here. I am also going to be building another one over here. This one, although it does look like quite a few mobs, these are all going to be cave spawns on all of these spawning platforms here. the next one that I build over here is all going to be to spawn all of our surface spawns. So if you're unfamiliar with the spawn caps, we have a spawn cap for surface mobs of 8 and a spawn cap of cave mobs for 8, which combined together give us 16 mobs that can be spawned at any given time. So we're going to take advantage of 8 cave spawns spawning here at a time, and then 8 surface spawns spawning over here at the one that we're going to build soon. That way we have the most efficient farm possible for a mob farm. And then both of them will connect with ice streams to shuttle all of the experience up to me. That way we can have a AFK farm here. The added benefit of building this inside of the ocean is we are going to have the occasional fish that's going to spawn inside of these water funnels, and the occasional drowns. So this is going to give us the drowns and all of their drops from time to time, and it's also going to give us a bunch of fish as well as some bones from the fish dying as well. And you can see the drowns just spawn there. So we might even get a couple tridents out of it, like that guy there. And you can see the farm is pumping out quite a few mobs. So once we get the trident killer hooked up to this thing, it's going to be a pretty efficient farm. Well guys, it's been a jam-packed episode, and I hope that you guys really enjoyed it. We got a ton accomplished today on the witch farm now that we're able to get the potion of water breathing. That's really exciting. And we also got a ton accomplished on our general mob farm. Next episode we're going to start working on probably the other side of the general mob farm. That way we can get all of our surface spawns as well. And then we're also going to probably design a sugarcane farm. That way we can get plenty of sugarcane to supply all of our needs so we can build books. And later game we're going to need that to build rockets as well. So it's going to be a very important farm for us to make. We will probably do a little bit more resource gathering as well. That way we can gather plenty of resources to build all of the things that we want to build inside of this Let's Play world. And that way we can build something other than this little hut that's behind me. With that being said, be sure not to miss the next episode. It's going to be a good one. If you like this video, then go ahead and hit that like button for me. And if you really like this video, then go ahead and smash that subscribe button for me, along with the bell notifications. That way you get notified on each and every video that I post and upload to my channel. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!